Okay guys, let's take a look. If you missed some of these problems, let's see what you're missing before we take a quiz. First, if you look, the amount of fertilizer in landscaping company warehouse decreases at a rate of 3% per week. The company started with 78,000 cubic yards of fertilizer in the warehouse. Identify A, B, and is it a growth or decay? Okay, so the main thing that we need to do is know what is A, what is B, and how do you tell if it's a growth or decay? So if we go back over that, A is your start amount. Okay, it's your initial value, start amount, initial value. Okay, so if you look in this problem here for a start amount, it's right here. It says started with 78,000 cubic yards. So we can put 78,000. We're not going to put the comma or anything like that because when you're working with figures in math, you don't put the comma. Okay, all right, so you have 78,000. So then remember, that's your start amount, your initial amount. This is your y-intercept if you're looking at a graph. Okay, then your B. Your B depends on whether it's a growth or a decay. Your B can either be 1 plus the rate or 1 minus the rate. Okay, so how do you tell if it's a growth or a decay? Because we need to know that in order to figure out the B. Well, you're going to look for some words. You're going to look for, like for growth, it would be increases, appreciates, it earns money, it grows. For decay, you would look at things like decreases, depreciates, loses value, words like that. So you have to look up here and find the words that mean growth or decay. Well, right here you see decreases. Okay, and it's usually around the rate. Okay, so this here says decreases at the rate. So you've got two things in one, but this is decreases, so this means it's a decay. Okay, so on your B, you're going to use 1 minus your rate. Okay, so we know it's a decay, and we're going to use 1 minus the rate. Well, what is the R? Your R is going to be the percent. So look up here for percent. Most of the time it's in percent. Sometimes it says double or twice the amount, something like that. But most of the time it says percent. Okay, so we've got 3%. So we have to change that to a decimal. Percent is just a shorthand. Okay, instead of writing the word percent. So we've got to change it into math. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 3. The decimal's right there. Remove it 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So we have to include a 0 right there. Okay, so my rate is now 0.03. All right, so what we have to do is we have to go 1 minus 0.03. And if you put that in the calculator or you do that, you'll get 0.97. Okay. On the entering the answers in the quiz, you could have put 0.97 or 0.97. Okay, number 2. Again, A is your initial amount. B is either 1 plus R or 1 minus R, depending on if it's a growth or decay. All right, so start amount. It says a golf tournament starts, there's a key, at 8 people. All right, so your start amount is at 8. Each round, 25% of the golfers are eliminated. Okay, eliminated, would that be a growth? Are you increasing them or you're decreasing them? Looks like you're eliminating them, so you're decreasing them, so it's a decay. So we're going to use 1 minus R again for our B value. Okay, so got to have the R. What's my R? My R is 25%. R should be pretty easy to find because most of them have percents. Okay, here we go, 25%, so we got to change it to a decimal, so we're going to start out here with 25. If there's no decimal, it's assumed to be at the end. Going to move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2. Okay, so it's a 0.25. That's my rate. Okay, so I'm going to come over here for the B. I'm going to go 1 minus 0.25. 1 minus 0.25 is 0.75. You could either put it as 0.75 or 0.75. Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3 says a student used f of x equals 4 times 2.5 raised to the x power to show how the balance in the savings account will increase over time. All right, A is your start amount. Now this time we have the equation. So the equation is written y equals A parentheses B, close your parentheses, raised to the x power. So if I come over here and write that equation underneath it, I've got 4, 2.5 raised to the x power. Okay, f of x is the same thing as y. All right, so my A is right here. It's the start value is 4. Okay, your B is 2.5. Okay, is it a growth or is it a decay? Well, if you look in the words, it says right here, it increases, so it's a growth. Okay, so now let's go on and let's look at number 4. Number 4 says 7 students initially completed an Algebra 1 project on the same day. The function y equals 7 parentheses are 7 times 3.2 raised to the x power shows the daily increase of students completing the project. All right, start amount. Well, we've got an equation, so we can come over here and go A parentheses B, close my parentheses, raised to the x power. Okay, because that's an exponential function. So the A is actually 7. You could have also picked it up right here. 7 students initially, so that's a 7 right there. Okay, so you had 2 places where you could find the 7. One from the equation, and right here where it says initially, that's the beginning, your start number. Okay, then if you take a look at the B, remember B is either going to be 1 plus R or 1 minus R. It depends on the growth and decay. So I come over here and I'm looking in the words, or I could look here at 3.2. In the words, it says daily increase. So that means it's a growth. If I look at your B value, remember if B is greater than 1, it's a growth. If B is in between 0 and 1, it's a decay. So right here, 3.2 is definitely greater than 1, so it is a growth. So that means we're going to use 1 plus R to find our B. All right, so we're going to come over here and take a look. What is our rate? Well, our rate, our growth, it's the same as your B. So all we have to do is 3.2. It's right here, it's your B, 3.2. Now, if we were trying to find our rate, we would have to take the 3.2 and plug it in on this other side over here, 3.2. Then you would subtract your 1 from both sides, and your rate is a 2.2. But that's not what we're doing here, so you can find it just right there. Okay, number 5. Jose was working at a lab and studying bacteria in a petri dish. Jose started with 12 bacteria and noticed that they decayed at a rate of 35%. Identify A, B, and if it's growth or a decay. All right, so again, starting amount. We don't have an equation, so we got to look to see, does it tell us how much he starts with? And it's not really that difficult if you know started. Look for started or initial amount. And it says he started with 12 bacteria, so A is 12. Okay, B is a little more complicated because we need to know, is it a growth or a decay? Okay, well, look guys, it's right there, decayed. So we know it's a decay, so that means we're going to use 1 minus R to equal our B. Okay, so we've got to find our R right here, rate, 35%. Okay, got to change it to a decimal. So you got 35. Remember the decimals at the end. Then we're going to move it 2 places to the left. So your rate is actually 0.35. Place that right here, 0.35. You're going to do 1 minus 0.35. That equals your B. So your B is 0.65. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. A particular type of cell quintuples in number every hour. I hope I said that right. If there is one cell initially, identify the A, B, and if it's a growth or decay. All right, so A is your starting amount. Okay, so let's take a look, find out. Starts with one cell initially. Okay, initially. So 1 goes here, right? Then your B. Okay, here we have to look. Is it growing or is it a decay? Well, it's quintuples in number every hour. That means it grows. I actually looked it up. Oops, this is not working very well. I actually looked it up and this is 5. Okay, so it's a growth. And your B is 5. Okay, so let's go down here and look at number 7. All right, these get a little bit more confusing. They just want you to talk. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just like, what do you know about exponential functions? It says here, in the exponential function, y equals a b to the x power. If b is between 0 and 1. When you see it like this, it just means the b is between a 0 and a 1. The value of y, does it increase or decrease as the value of x increases? Right? So between 0 and 1. Remember, if b is greater than 1, it was a growth. So you had a picture of a graph that went up like this. Okay, and if you look, as x is increasing going this way, this is your x, your y is going up. So your y increased. Okay, if it was b was between 0 and 1, you had a graph that looked like that. Okay, that was a decay. So as x is increasing, this is the way x increases, your y is decreasing. Okay, so if you take a look at this problem here, it says if your b is here, if it's a decay, it looks like that, then the value of y is decreasing as x increases. Okay, and this is a model of decay, exponential decay. All right, so then if you look over here again, in exponential function, you've got y equals a b to the x power. You know it's exponential because the power is the variable. If b is greater than 1, the value of y is increasing or increases as the value of x increases. So as x is going to the right, y is going up. So this is an exponential growth. It was just explaining a little bit more about what happens to your x variable and your y variable. Okay, I hope that explains it. I hope it made it a little bit simpler and you can figure out which ones you got incorrect. All right, review the exponential and the exponential review page and then take the quiz. The problems are random, and if you take it again, you will not get the same questions. So make sure that you take a look at what you did incorrect in the first submission if you decide to try again. All right, talk to you later. Miss you guys.